Thank you. Good morning and welcome to this meeting of the SWestrans Board. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded, and the public recording will be made available on the website for public listening following the meeting. Remote participants on Teams, please follow the good practice guidance, which includes muting microphones, switching off your video when you're not addressing the meeting, write and speak in the Teams chat function when you want to contribute, although I will look out for the virtual hand. No material should be posted in the chat function if it is intended as part of the discussion. The usual standing orders apply, including that any votes will be undertaken by roll call. Please speak clearly and directly into the microphone when making contributions, and when referring to reports, please provide reference to the relevant page and paragraph to allow everyone to follow. Now, before we start the agenda, I will remind everyone that we are in a pre-election period. There is provisions for observers to address the meeting with my discretion. There is no provisions for the public to address this meeting in our standing orders, but the board, at the discretion of the chair, has always been inclusive in allowing those present to address the meeting. I would just ask that those present are mindful that there should be no political statements. That said, it is business as usual and on with the agenda. So we'll go to agenda item 1, which is the sederant and apologies. Claire.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I can confirm we've got 4 board members present this morning, yourself and David Bryson in the Council Hall here, and Jim Dempster and Keith Walters on Teams. Apologies from the Vice Chair, and Willie Scobie and Andrew Wood not present. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. Agenda item 2 is declarations of interest. Do any board members have any declarations they wish to make? Don't see any hands going up. Okay, we move on to agenda item 3, which is the minutes of the meeting on the 19th of April 2024. This is for approval. Are we happy to approve? Got nods in the room. I take silence online as approval. Thank you, members. Move on to agenda item 4, which is the minutes of the special board meeting on the 19th of June for approval. These were sent out yesterday following Tuesday's reconvened meeting. Are we happy to approve? I've got nods in the room. I take silence as acceptance. Thank you very much, members. We'll now move on to agenda item 5, which is the board membership update. This is David Bryson's last meeting of the SWestrans board, all being well. I would like to take this opportunity to thank David Bryson for his contributions to the SWestrans board over the years. David's time on the SWestrans board has included 2 terms as Vice Chair, and his contributions have always been valued and appreciated. I've got Claire to assist anybody on this report, so I'll open it up to the board. David.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks for your kind words. I've got to say it's been a real privilege and a pleasure to be part of the SWestrans board for the 12 years I've sat on it. I've always found it very interesting every day. We've been here. It would be remiss of me not to acknowledge the work that's done by the council-led team in terms of both finance and the transport side of things, under Stephen's leadership at the moment and Douglas's prior to that. I've always found the reports that have come have been very informative, well presented, and given us enough detail to allow us to make the decisions that we have to make, regardless how difficult they may or may not be. And just in terms of other board members over the years, always found it a pleasure working with them. And I've got to say that without exception, they've always put the best interests of the people of Dumfries and Galloway at the forefront of any decisions they've had to make. So just thanks very much. What we're clearly looking to move forward is in terms of a board nominated person. we've put forward Stephanie Mottram, who's another general manager, but within the Community and Health and Social Care Directorate. I've spoken to Steph, known her for a number of years, and I'm sure she'll bring valuable contributions to SWestrans, and given her remit within the board that she covers the community services, I felt that was a good fit for here, and she's probably known to a number of the elected members in her other role in any case. But thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Do we have Stephanie in the room? No, not yet. No. So, I'm sure Stephanie's got some big shoes to fill, shall we say. Thanks very much for that. So, any other board members wishing to contribute? Councillor Walters.
Yeah, just a quick word to thank David for his service in the time that I've been on the board. It's always been really helpful to be able to speak to him about stuff, and also big thanks in terms of actually getting a replacement, which can be a bit of a difficult thing. The other thing was the fourth item on that board membership update says determine whether or not to continue requesting that appointing bodies give consideration to the gender balance of the board. I would have thought that would be a yes. We should be asking appointing bodies to give consideration to the gender balance of the board, if that's what we're having to decide on one way or the other. Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Walters. Yeah, I think it's a common thing that we take through the board periodically, that we try to get gender balance, not only just from external contributors, but also from council elected members, if we possibly can. I don't know if you've got anything to add to that, Claire.
Nothing to add, Chair, only what's in the report at section 4. It's just an opportunity for the board to revisit that if they so wished.
Thank you very much. Councillor Dempster.
Thanks, Chair. Just very briefly, I think David and I have spent the same time on the board collectively or jointly, and David has always been an exceptional board member and willing to express his views and opinions when necessary. So I wish him well in whatever he's doing, thank him for his contribution, and accept the notion as well that gender balance, we can and should strive to that. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks very much. I don't think we've got any observers in, so I think we'll just move to the recommendations, if that's okay with the board. So the recommendation is to note that David Bryson is stepping down as the NHS Dumfries and Galloway representative at the end of this term of appointment. Agree that Stephanie Mottram be appointed to the SWestrans board as the NHS Dumfries and Galloway representative, noting that this is subject to the approval of the Scottish ministers. And agree that Karen Jackson be reappointed to the SWestrans board as a representative from the South of Scotland enterprise, noting that this is subject to the completion of the assessment by the chair and approval of Scottish ministers. And finally, to determine whether or not to continue requesting that appointing bodies give consideration to gender balance of the board, noting that the update in section 4 of the report. Are we happy to note, agree, and we have determined, and my sense is that we would like that to continue. Our board members content with that? Yeah, nods in the room, silence online. Thank you, members. We now move on to agenda item 6. This is the internal audit assurance for 2023 and the plan for 24-25. We have Richard Fox here to assist. Richard, have you got anything to add to the report?
Thank you, Chair. Just to say this is an annual paper, as you've outlined, which provides a formal statement of assurance to the board of the adequacy of internal control, risk management and governance arrangements. And it also outlines the work we plan to do within the coming financial year. I would say the audit plan has always got flexibility to allow for unforeseen events or things that might occur, and I welcome contributions from the board as to any areas they have particular concerns about. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Richard. Any board members wishing to ask questions? No hands going up. Nobody in the room. Okay, we'll just move to the recommendations then. This is to note 1, agree to receive 2, and note and comment on 3. Happy to note and comment. Thank you. Now move on to agenda item 7, which is the Regional Transport Strategy 23 to 20. I'll start again. The Regional Transport Strategy 2023 to 2042 delivery plan. Tom and Kirsty are here to assist. Tom and Kirsty, anything to add to the report?
Nothing to add, Chair, but happy to take any comments or questions or queries. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Open to board members. Any questions? Councillor Walters.
Thanks very much, and thanks for the report, because it's very detailed on the actions that we're going to be taking, which is great. So a couple just caught my eye. One was on page 22 about a bus service improvement partnership should be created in Dumfries and Galloway. I just wondered if you could just sort of clarify what that would actually involve, and whether that would involve active community organisations who are already campaigning about buses, or what would be the makeup of this bus service improvement partnership. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Walters. Who wants to take this one? Tom?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. The Bus Service Improvement Partnership is provision of the Transport Act 2019. So the regulations have yet to be published, but the idea of that, it was formerly known as bus quality contracts, and the idea is we form a partnership with one of the bus operators to determine frequency and quality of service along particular corridors, and in return the local authority, SWestrans, will do its best to assist the operator in ensuring journey time reliability by removing issues of congestion, bottlenecks, etc. So it's something we'll consider as part of the network review. It's one of the options, as I say, in the Transport Act 2019, along with things like franchising and municipal bus operation. So we'll be considering all of those, and obviously raising that with the workshops with bus operators, which begin next week. And we'll be having those discussions with them, because they'll obviously have experience of this elsewhere. So it will be interesting to draw on their experience on how these things operate.
Thank you, Tom. Has that been helpful, Councillor Walters?
Yeah, that's clarified, actually. That's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other members wishing to contribute, ask questions? David Bryson.
Thanks very much. Certainly welcome the report. It's really comprehensive, and I welcome the ambition of it. I suppose my question is, if you look at it, whilst it states it runs to 2042, there are an awful lot of deliverables in the next 3 years against it in the appendix. So a bit thoughtful about ability to try and take that forward, and resource constraints round about that, not just in terms of financial ones, but in terms of the people power within there.
Yeah, some fair points. I'm getting nods. Do you want to contribute, Kirsty?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks, David. That's an important point. But what I would highlight is that the actions that we've outlined in the plan at the moment are, you know, they can change in the future. So these are the initial actions, and as we review the plan going forward, you know, there'll be different points added into those. So it's ambitious at the moment, but yeah, it will be for the length of the whole delivery.
Yep, I'm getting nods from David. So any other contributions? Don't see any hands going up. So we'll just move to the recommendations, which is to consider note 1, agree to, and note 3. Are we happy to do so? Nods in the room. Okay, now move on to agenda item 8, which is the revenue budget outturn report of 2023-24. Janet is here to assist. Janet, do you have anything to add?
I've nothing to add to the report, Chair.
Thank you, Janet. I'll open it up to questions from board members. Don't see any hands going up. Okay, we'll just move to the recommendations. I'll be happy to note the revenue budget outturn report. Yep. Take silence as acceptance. Move on to agenda item 9. This is the revenue budget monitoring report 2024 to 2025 for the period ending of the 31st of May 2024. Janet is here to assist again. Do you have anything to add, Janet?
Nothing to add to the report, Chair.
Thank you very much. You seem to be getting off lightly on this. I'll open it up to board members for questions. No, nobody's putting their hands up, Janet. You're getting off pretty lightly, so we'll just move to recommendations. Is to note 1 and 2. Happy to do that? Nods in the room. Okay, members, we now move on to, sorry. Oh, Councillor Walters.
Sorry, I was a bit slow there. Just on the recommendations, what the first one, the reduction in the revenue budget of £12,963 to £4.4 million. Is that? Can you just clarify which of those figures is correct?
Janet.
Thank you, Chair. The budget was set, the published budget was 4374 when we originally set the budget back in March. Subsequent to that, the Scottish Government notified us that we were going to be reducing the grant payable to us by 12,963, which then reduced the overall SWestrans budget to 4,361,000.
Thanks, Janet. Yeah, it was a reduction. I'm sure it actually said that in the report, did it? Yeah. 3.2. So, we're happy to note 1 and 2. Okay, members. Now move on to agenda item 10. This is the Capital Expenditure Programme 2023 to 24, the outturn report. I've got Grant here to assist board members. Do you have anything to add? Where's Grant on this?
Nothing further to add, Chair. Thanks.
Thank you, Grant. I'll open it up to board members' questions. I'll just give it a minute, Keith, just in case you're having trouble putting your hand up.
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It doesn't look as if anybody wants to contribute on that, so are we happy to note item 10? Silence. I'll accept as acceptance. Now move on to agenda item 11, which is the draft capital expenditure programme 2024 to 25. 2024/25 to 2026/27. Again, Grant is here to assist. Do you have anything to add, Grant?
Nothing further to add, Chair. Thanks.
Thank you. I'll open it up to the board. David Bryson.
Again, I suppose it's coming back to ability to deliver against challenging programmes. The previous paper obviously indicated quite a significant underspend against the 23-4 budget, which was explained. But it still means that this year we have a budget in excess of £2.5 million to deliver against, and it's again down to timing, resource, etc. I'm just wondering, I probably want to be a bit of confidence about our ability to deliver the full budget this year rather than having another underspend situation.
Thanks, David. Grant.
Yeah, thanks, David, for your comments. And we have 2 new members of staff present. We've got Peter McCormack and Keith Munn, who's joined our teams. Peter's going to be a dedicated officer for the active travel behaviour change funding, the grant funding that board members were informed of earlier on this year. And Keith's on board to look after the infrastructure and to provide support across other projects. Peter comes from a behaviour change, active travel behaviour change background for the last 20 years. And Keith's background is in procurement and construction. So the skill sets, got ideally specialised skill sets that will help us contract manage and deliver a number of these projects. We've also been working with other stakeholders, with the Core Paths team in the council, and looking to see if we can help fund their projects, but have them and their team deliver those projects. Again, we'll be looking at from a project management point of view on those basis, and we also been working with communities. So over these last 12 months, we've been building up a bit of relationships and also taking on board what communities are looking for, and the communities are looking actually to develop a number of these projects themselves. They just really needed to have that funding. So we've been working with legal to draw up grant applications with terms and conditions that are suitable for the council and for SWestrans, for those communities to then deliver and develop and deliver those projects. And a number of those communities that are listed in the programme for those projects have already delivered other projects very similar. So they've got a track record there. So it gives us a wee bit more confidence. So we do recognise it is ambitious, but I think it's better to be a bit ambitious than to have no ambition going forward.
David?
Yeah, so Grant, that's really helpful, and thanks for that. I think it does give us that degree of assurance. I don't underestimate the challenges. I manage the capital programme for the board, so particularly when you've got significant engagement as part and parcel of it, and also as soon as you start getting legals involved, you can have inevitable delays in that space. So, but I found that helpful. Thank you.
Thanks very much. And welcome, Peter and Keith. Is it? Yeah. It was remiss of me not to even mention Tom. I should have introduced Tom Flanagan, and maybe you'd like to say what your role is as well, Tom.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So Tom Flanagan, I've been drafted in to support the SWestrans team following the retirement of Douglas Kirkpatrick. I've had a number of experiences over the last 8 years with the different regional transport partnerships around the country. Most recently did a similar interim role at SWestrans, so familiar with the work that they've been doing, which is helping with the cross south of Scotland work as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks very much. My apologies for not doing that at the start. Councillor Dempster.
Thanks, Chair. I have a belated statement of connection. In this report, there's a list of organisations that are doing past projects, and I'm chairman of the Sanker Enterprise, and we have an application pending, I think it is. So I have a declaration of connection, but since we're not allocating money today, I don't see why I shouldn't stay and contribute. And my question really is, it's about 2.4, where it says there will be no regional active transport fund for 24-25, and yet on the next page we have a table which shows a active travel network with 400k, and I presume that's explained by saying the council has combined the resources. Is that correct?
That's my understanding, but I'll get confirmation from Grant. Thanks, Councillor Dempster.
Thanks, Councillor Dempster. Yeah, that's correct.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Dempster. Any other members, board members wishing to ask questions? Don't see any hands going up. So can we go to the recommendations? And the board are asked to agree the draft capital programme for 2024/25 to 2026/27 as outlined in Table 1. We're happy with that to agree. Nods in the room. I'll take silence as acceptance. Now move on to agenda item 12. This is the draft annual unaudited accounts for 2023-24. Janet is here to assist. Do you have anything to add, Janet?
Nothing to add to the report, Chair.
Thank you very much. So I'll open it up to the board. Don't see any hands going up. Okay, we'll just move to the recommendations, which is to note the report. We're happy to do so. Nods in the room. Okay, we now move on to agenda item 13, which is the Transport Focus Your Bus Journeys Survey 2023. Linda is here to assist. Linda, do you have anything to add?
Thank you, Chair. Just to advise that since this report was written, I've now got access to an email for this current year's survey, and I think it'll be interesting for the board members, and I'm happy to send that on this afternoon, and it highlights what they're actually, it gives more in-depth detail of what the survey involves and where they're surveying this year, the routes, the bus stops, everything like that. So it's all in there for them to see. So I'll send that on this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. I'm sure the board members would appreciate that. So, any board members got any questions on the report? Councillor Walters.
That was going to be one of my first questions about the timing of this. In that this, from my understanding, this survey was undertaken last June, and it was taken us this long to get here. So from what the officer has just said there, then are we going to get an update on a similar survey this year? Is that right?
Linda.
Thank you, Keith. Looking at, because obviously I wasn't involved last year, but I've looked back at some emails, and it does state that you get a mid-term survey, so they send you one maybe during the year. So I'm hopeful that they'll do that again this year. Looking at the email that I currently have, the survey this year started in April to December. So I'm hoping that we'll maybe get halfway through the year and they'll send us some survey results before we get the full year. But just to let you know, this one obviously came through in March, so it must take that long for it to be compiled and the results to be ready. Thank you.
Has that been helpful, Keith?
Yeah, that's fine. I've got another detailed question, if that's all right, about one of the pages, if I can find the right page. It's about the number of bus stops with timetables, page 27 on the report. The reason why I'm asking is they seem to be saying that 62% of people said that the bus stop had a timetable. And it made me think that I remember we had been doing a process of surveying or auditing bus shelters and bus stops. And it made me wonder how we got on with that in terms of actually making sure that every bus stop had a timetable rather than just the 60%. Thanks.
Yeah, can we have a wee update, Linda, if that's possible?
Thank you, Keith. Yes, this is something I'm working on. We migrated to a new system, hence the delay in getting the new at-stop information put out on site. And then obviously, as you're aware, there's been a wee bit of network disruption in the network review as well. But I am currently working on that. I've currently done Langham, working on Lockerbie. I'm trying to get as many bus timetables out there as possible, because I am aware that some of the timetables were pre-COVID as well. So this is something we're working on. I actually thought 62% was quite favourable, to be fair, on the reports that I do get from the various towns. But yeah, this is something I am working on. Thank you.
Thanks, Linda. Councillor Dempster. Oh, sorry. Who else want to come in? Grant?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Also, just to outline that we have over 1,000 bus stops in the region. There's also the asymmetry timetable. School may also have implications regarding timetables. So there's a lot in play, and there's a lot of assets out there to cover. It's a matter of quite a resource also.
No, that's a fair point, Grant. Did you want to come back in, Keith?
Yeah, I understand the sort of the magnitude of the task in terms of the numbers of bus stops, but my understanding was that this survey was on 6 or 7 routes, and they're all fairly central routes, either between towns or within the town. And so to only have a 60% coverage on timetables seemed to me, if we were talking about some of the more remote places, I can understand that it might be more difficult for us to replace them. But I'm surprised that the figure wasn't higher because these are central routes. Thanks.
Yeah, I suppose when you're doing a survey, though, you can only go by the data that you're collecting. You're absolutely right. If the data is coming in more from the larger towns, areas rather than sort of the rural areas, it does shape the survey. But Grant, do you want to respond?
We are and have been ongoing exploring, looking at real-time information and looking at using QR codes and looking at phone lines to put in at bus stops for looking at the timetable and going forward. We have an allocation of capital through the Levelling Up Fund to look at bus stops, and so looking to see how we can incorporate that, make it more user friendly, and to try and make sure we can try and cater for all those bus stops across the region, so that we can update timetables almost automatically without also having to put in paper copies, so that people could either phone up or use a QR code or use an app. So that's an ongoing piece of work that our team's is focused on at the moment, and there is capital there for us to take that forward. The issue will be coming down to the revenue. We've previously had real-time information, to my understanding, and there's 77 bus stops out of 1,000 that still have the hardware, but they stopped it because of the licensing. I think it was at that time they required savings, so it got stopped. So we are looking at bringing this back up, but trying to make it as sustainable as possible for both the council and bus operators.
Thanks, Grant. That's quite reassuring. Keith, are you satisfied with the response?
Yeah, no, I'm happy with that. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Councillor Dempster.
Thanks very much, Chair. I understand what Keith said. I understand what Linda's saying as well. And I have to say, Linda's been great getting some infrastructure back in place in my ward in Sanka where it was absent. But now we've got a position, unfortunately, where we've got 4 brand new boards, destination boards, with nothing on them. And it just makes a mockery of the work that Linda's done, because she's gone to a lot of effort to find somebody to install these boards, and now we've no information on the boards. And the other issue as well, we need to complete projects. We put a brand new bus stop near the medical centre, but didn't mark out the roadway. So there's folk parking because they're entitled to. So we're not reserving parking for a bus because we're not marked out the road. So I just wonder if there's a mechanism whereby if we are struggling for time and for capacity, if we could work with, for example, the street scene operatives, just send this stuff up, and as they're doing road sweeping, road cleaning, working, they could also install the information, because we are a unitary authority. This nonsense about you can't do this because no part of your job should be long gone. If there's a task to be done in a locality, it shouldn't matter which member of staff carries it. And in fact, I'd be happy to put in the notices if somebody will give me them. It's a 5-minute job. Brand new boards and no destination stuff. And I think as well, there is a side that we haven't taken into account, is that we're trying to attract tourists. We're trying to get them.
Councillor Dempster, can we stick to the report, please? I'm sure some of these issues could be brought up. I mean, we're actually just looking at the survey and questions on the survey.
That's fine, okay. Questions on the survey. it's maybe time we also question them on the quality of the bus and if there's an issue with a particular route, we should be having a survey on that and no looking for the successful routes, because some of the routes that I know of aren't performing well and don't feature in the report. But I'll come back to that in another day. Thanks, Chairman.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. I'm sorry to butt in there, but there's other routes you can take those points up if you wish as an elected member. But we're looking at questions for the survey that's on here.
Absolutely fine.
No, thank you. David Bryson?
Thanks, Chair. Really comprehensive report, really comprehensive collation of the data that's come via the survey. I suppose my question is the so what one, and how do we feed back to the people that have taken the time to contribute to the survey? This tells you what they've said, but is there a mechanism of you said we did type thing to try and celebrate some of the successes as well?
Yeah, I see Linda nodding. I don't know if you want to respond to that.
Thank you. There's a lot of stuff online, but I'm not, and the emails that come through to all the RTPs, but regarding the customers themselves, I think there is something regarding an app or a QR code that they can download and look at the results from that. And it's all in the, when I send this email out this afternoon, it's all there, you know, it's explaining where it goes, what questions are asked and everything. So I think your answers will be in this email because it's quite comprehensive and tells you just about everything that you need to know regarding the survey. Thank you.
Thanks, Linda. Is that satisfied, David?
Yeah, it's helpful. As I say, I think it's just giving that clarity back to people that they have taken the time to contribute to a survey. So what has it actually done? What have we changed on the back of it? So if we identified there, for example, the 61% of bus stops that have got timetables in them, we could go back and say we've taken an initiative out and it's now 85% type thing because you've raised this as an issue. And it's about trying to demonstrate back the value of their contribution to the individuals that have taken the time. Because if you continually go out with surveys and nothing happens, then you'll get your response rate will drop off quite dramatically. So it was just to try and capture those points. But that was helpful. Thanks, Linda.
Thanks, David. I've just got a couple of queries. Obviously, on page 7, we've got the summary of the headline of the results. And we've got the SWestrans results, and we've got all Scotland areas results. Are they sort of like for like? I mean, we're not that close to an all Scotland areas when you look at where we come out and percentage-wise. Overall satisfaction at 87% and all Scotland areas 86%. However, I suppose where I'm coming from is, and it's already been alluded, that if the survey is just taken from towns as opposed to rural routes, are we linking the same? You know, because if all of Scotland, you've got large cities and they may sort of skew the figures. I mean, are we comparing a rural area like Dumfries and Galloway with a rural area elsewhere in Scotland? Thanks, Linda.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I can see where you're coming from because we are remote and rural here. But I think looking at what's coming up this year, they're doing a lot more. We'll get a better understanding because this year they're doing remote, they're taking in more operators and everything, you know. So they've included brown rigs this year, DGC buses. So you're getting to see a lot more rather than the towns and you know, our high profile areas. So we'll get a better understanding in the next survey, I think, looking at what they're taking in compared to what they looked at last year and the routes they looked at last year. Thank you.
Thanks, Linda. Anybody else wishing to contribute? Don't see any hands going up. Are we happy to go to the recommendations, which is to note the Transport Focus Your Bus Journey Survey of 2023. Happy to do so. Nods in the room. Okay, silence online. I'll take that acceptance. We now move on to agenda item 14, which is the calendar of meetings. Claire is here to assist. Do you have anything to add, Claire?
No, nothing to add, Chair.
Thank you. Opening it up to board members. Don't see any hands going up. Okay, we'll just go to the recommendations. Members of the board are asked to agree the calendar of meetings for 2025 as set out in paragraph 3.2. Happy to agree. Yep. Okay, members, item 15, which is any other business which the chair may decide is urgent due to the need for a decision. Of no items of urgent business, however, the board does have a confidential item to discuss an item. And before I move on to that, I'd just once again like to thank David Bryson for his contributions to the board over the years. It is recommended that members of the board agree to consider this item of business in private and exclude the press, members of the public and observers from the meeting in terms of paragraph 6, 8, 9 of Schedule 7A of the Local Government Scotland Act 1973. Can we agree? I take silence as acceptance. Thank you, members, and thanks, members of the public, for attending.